Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back over on the YouTube account, and that's right, it is quiet time in the Vault of Time. Shh, it's time to do the damage. So overall, we've been waiting for this period. So looking at the Abyssal Expedition, once it hits quiet time, you only have 24 hours essentially to take down the boss. You can see right here, we did hit quiet time. It is 24 hours from quiet time when you have the ability, and we have been saving all of our essence, saving all of our blessed relics to build this up. Now looking right here, you can see that we went level 5.6, so we did build all of these relics in the entirety. Now the reason being, when you start looking at these different formations and looking at really the build that we have, the heroes within these formations are going to receive the relic soul, which means they're going to have the ability to buff all the way up to the strongest relic, which is the 5.6, making a really, really big difference in the formation. So this is the point where we're not killing any of these bosses. We're not killing any of the camps in here, but looking at really where we're at for the leaderboards and looking resource generation 49. So we're doing pretty good. We're already 75th in here. Now, again, this is the point where we know, looking at killing the boss this time, chances are we are not going to have enough damage. And you'll notice right here that it is 54 compared to 221. So looking at the couple kills in here, even going all the way down here to the 221, any guild that has already done 221 damage, they are already locked in with the boss kill. So look at the first 25 guilds. So the first 25 spots are already done, already calculated. The boss has died at that point for the final time, meaning right now we're in 75th. So we're going to be climbing very high, very fast, because of course, if you remember, we saved the relics for today, and that's exactly what we're looking to do, is go in here and do some hits. And I want to see kind of how the builds go out. Now it's weird because how it kind of puts it in here, if you guys remember, this is actually the formation, and I want to snip this formation, but this is the formation that we actually pulled up the very, very first day when we did. This was the very first team, if you remember, in its entirety that we built out, and it was with the very first beast, which was the panda. So I want to hop in here. Now, one thing to note is, let's zoom in a little bit here. Looking at the boss, you can say right here, the boss is at 86.6. Now, again, if you remember Gwen, in the Gwen comp that we have, the Gwen comp is going to do an exponential amount of damage if the boss hit HP is above 50%. So that is the reason why right now we're going to go through, we're going to do our Gwen comp, and we want to do the maximum damage that we can do within the Gwen comp. But like I said, when it comes to the build out, when it comes to the build right here, it doesn't put them in formations. I had them in formations in here, and it does kind of throw it off a little bit. This is the formation. This is the Gwen comp formation. And this is kind of how it plays. Now, you'll notice right in here that we do have Demia. Demia is a mage, so Demia is not going to quite have as many buffs in there. But we are buffing up Gwen in the entirety, and then making sure that we have our relics in here. This is super, super important, because if you remember, this is one where we talked about the captivating wings, being on level 2 captivating wings, keeping this team essentially alive. We have a really strong relic right there. And then, of course, we have a few in here with the lineup looking at our trader relics, and a lot of these heroes are not going to be used in here. I think even some of these we don't have built or we don't have in the entirety, but looking at some of the skills that we have within these relics itself, you can see we don't have the best relics in the world, but overall they do work pretty well. So we'll even grab this one off to Zyra, and then of course we can click and kind of look at it, because tanking relics for me, absolutely garbage, guys. It is kind of crazy garbage that we do have in here. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set this one up. As you can see, we're pretty good. I'm going to do one battle in here. Now, the reason is we want to test the formation. We know this is the build that we're looking for. Now, looking at this, remember, Demia with the artifact is going to keep these heroes alive, or technically should keep the heroes alive. We have Silas in here for the healing, also the immunity. So there is an immunity aspect in here. And also remember, when we look at our support heroes, they are buffed up a lot. Now, also with Silas, remember, Silas provides a very, very big damage buffer in there. Again, we were testing out these formations a little bit, but it changes depending on what you kind of have here. So sometimes we'll see an absolute crazy amount of damage on the boss. Sometimes it seems like we'll see next to nothing on the boss. And it is kind of odd with these with these relics, and seeing kind of how it looks and how the boss comps do fit in here. But again, Silas sometimes dies out pretty quick. Sometimes we don't see him die out really at all. But this Gwen comp is pretty broken when it comes to the damage. Damia goes down with about, 15 seconds left. And of course, the formation just kind of folds. Now, you'll also notice Panda Dumpty right in here does kind of shield us. So there is 45 billion damage with the comp itself. Now, looking at the build again, where I have them built out, even not having Rosaline built out, a few other heroes in here really makes a big difference. And you can kind of tweak how this is. So 45 billion of that damage. That is roughly where it's going to be probably overall for the build. And again, based on, I don't have engraving on Silas. I don't have it on Rosaline. I don't have it on Aethys. There's a lot of improvement that we could definitely do to these heroes for survivability wise. Also a little bit of a build. I don't want to do the tanks any higher. We could go Demio with a little bit higher, but again, thinking of the formations and thinking of the builds themselves, don't have a ton of mages that are super strong within this comp. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to look kind of what we have here. And again, thinking of the mages, we could build this out quite a bit. We only do have the 3 mages, including Aurelia in here. But again, looking at the build, I'm going to have to pick another tree in here. I could go ahead, I could build the warrior tree, or I could build the ranger tree, but we have 4 heroes here that are going to be imperative. We have 3 here that are going to get the star, or essentially the relic soul. And then looking at the last one, we only have Aethys in here. So again, this is one that we built out early. Probably shouldn't have picked up this relic, but building it out a little bit earlier did make sense. So this one, again, completed in the entirety. We can go in and looking at the relics that we have in our bag, we're going to be able to build a majority of these out is what I'm hoping. That way we can, again, push a little bit more damage in here just based on the builds that we have and seeing exactly how many of these essence we do have left. I feel like we can get and build a lot of this out in the entirety, probably even the entire thing, which of course means when it comes to building out and when it comes to building out the rest of these formations, since we have this built up to 5, so right now we have the warrior up to 5 of 6. We do have the support to 5 of 6. Now mages, again, we could go in, we could build the mage, we could build the ranger. Both of them could be very important to build, and building them up any higher, because essentially if I build up the rangers higher, I can give my relic soul to the mages. If I build the mages up, I can do the exact same. Now looking in here, because I have 5 of these already, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to build out, and I'm going to build out the mages in here. Again, thinking of where the star or where that relic soul is going to go. Tanks, I'm not worried about. Tanks are going to stay exactly where they are. And then of course we can focus on just overbuilding this past the level 5, making sure where the mages are, because this is going to make a big difference with, of course, they shall immediately recover energy out of here. And then looking again, exactly what we have the ability to build and trying to build out whatever we can, because at this point we are not getting any more relics. We are completely done with that. So again, building this out means when I go in formations and when I'm building out formations, I am automatically going to give the ability or that relic soul ability to anyone that is in my ranger class, because again, this is going to be built up a little bit further. Even looking here, we can build this one up a little bit further. And then of course, looking at the bag. So again, thinking of in this one, we are going to give the relic soul to these heroes. We know this is built. We knew this is built. We know this, we're not going to build anymore. But since I have the rangers, since I have the mages, we have 2 relics left. How to get these? Going in, we can combine these. We can use some of our relic souls. And of course, as we're building this up a little bit further, since we're not using any of these legendary relics there, also not getting and using any of the relics there, we can go in here and we can sell some of the relics. Like right here, we do have the Heart of Agility. I'm going to sell this one, and hopefully we might be able to get enough to essentially build this out a little bit further. Even looking, at all 10 of these. And again, knowing there's not really anything else that I'm building. Even right here is the Bastion. This, of course, is the tank relic. Trying to get enough resources to essentially build this out at 177. We're going to go in here. We're going to see. And again, thinking of like a tank relic, that is 36. I'm not going to be using that one. Even looking at this tank one, and I know there are a couple caster ones in here, that gives us the ability to build out one more of these in the entirety. So again, we have 5 of 6, we have 5 of 6, we have 5 of 5. Tank tree, we're not worried about. It's already at 501. And then this one, of course, any of these heroes within these formations are going to get this relic soul. But I want to see where the damage kind of looks and where the damage changed with building up a lot of these relics. Now I feel like here, I feel like we're not going to be able to get enough. 318, we got 55. I think even getting rid of everything in here, we're not going to have enough to finish it out. But I want to do one more attack in here with that same comp and see if we can do a little bit higher. Now, of course, like I said, if we go in here, if we had the ability to essentially build out all of these heroes, have these heroes built out a little bit further, could definitely pull a little bit more damage. But when we start thinking about the ability to keep Damia alive, now going from really 4, where she was at, all the way up to 5.5 for that mage classification, going to make a big difference on the survivability of this and also the overall damage. See, Silas still goes down in this one. Might have to switch up the formation a little bit because I feel like he shouldn't be dying. This is, again, a formation that we tested a lot based on the build and based on really the heroes themselves. Should have a lot more utility than what we're seeing. Even Damia trying to keep Silas alive because, of course, they are really built up in the entirety. And I might have to switch and put the wings on Silas and see how we do because we don't have any issues with Rosaline. Not seeing any issues really with anybody else. Now, Damia last time did die out right there. 16 seconds she died out. So again, very true. So we're missing a couple seconds right there. But even looking 2, 1, there we go. So went to 42. Now, interesting enough, this is what a lot of players were kind of saying is that if you're overbuilding relics, a lot of times you're doing less damage with higher built relics, which we know should not be the case in its entirety. And I didn't mean to do another battle. I think, no, it didn't do another battle. Yeah, it did. Boom, 12. Look at that. Rewind that battle. We'll get some of the points back. Don't know exactly why I did 12, but again, thinking of the heroes in here, let's go ahead and I want to swap this one out. We know we got the full attack giving us a lot more buffs, but when you start looking at this Luminous and thinking of these, they actually have the ability to keep heroes alive a little bit longer, which again could make a big difference. First time the holder receives fatal damage, so we know he's not going to die right off of the bat, and we know we're not having issues with Rosaline dying. So let's see what this looks like with the survivability, with a little bit of the team. Want to make sure we're not going through and really doing them very, very bad RNG hits, and keeping everyone alive really within here makes a big difference. It really does make a big difference. Now, of course, Pam to Dumpty doing what he does up there in that top left. So again, we want to run through. We're in quiet time. We have that 24 hours to burn through all of the stamina that we have in here. It does take a long time to get through there. But once we start, and as you can see, guys, Silas is living in here so far. Hopefully Damia can ult, keeping us alive for a little bit longer. I think I might have found the little niche that we needed within here to keep them alive was essentially one collection, which again is kind of crazy, but one collection can make that big of a difference. Even Silas right there. We have the healing on there, have the attack buff out of there, and then of course we do have that Panda Dumpty running around. Now, of course, including the Enrage Timer, guys. The Enrage Timer just gets to a point where it overtakes your heroes. When you're putting out this much damage in such a very, very fast fashion, it really goes in there. And there, look at that. It's only 20. Again, looking at how much we did the first time when we didn't have any of these built up, a lot of it doesn't make sense. A lot of it does really come with an RNG factor with how much damage she's putting up in such a very, very short amount of time. We're going to have to look at this a little bit deeper, see exactly what's going on with it, because that first hit was what, 45, I think 45 billion, making a big damage on, or a big dent in those damage meters. So guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.